Hey guys, what's happening? John Hendricks here for Boot Crew Media, coming at you with another episode of The Drive, presented by Royal Honda and Metairie. Well, we got day 6 of Saints training camp in the book, and look, it was not disappointing. Let's just say that they had to move practice indoors because of the weather. We did get to see some of the fans be able to come in and such, and just kind of partake in some of the inside festivities. But obviously, just a quick notion, and it's obviously half of what you see outside because they got 2 fields to work with, only 1 inside, so there's kind of, I didn't say limited on space because they make it work, but a little bit different as far as it goes. But I think what we'll start with here is Trevor Penning. I think you look at yesterday when the pads first came on, Penning had a kind of a rough day, a tough day, if you will, and got into it a little bit with Peyton Turner after the whistle. And so today, I think he really improved on his pass protection. I won't say it's perfect, but I definitely would say that there's things he moved or definitely improved on for day 6. Things like going up against Tarko Charlton, and Charlton tries to beat him inside, and Penning is able to respond and kind of counter that with his hands and push Charlton to the ground. Or Scott Patchin is another one that he was going against, just solid reps from Trevor Penning. One little moment he had today, I'd say, is that they were doing some walkthroughs, or not walkthroughs, but doing their team drills on 11-11, and he had a false start penalty. That's kind of something that's going to happen. He got pulled out of there. Gerald Hawkins comes in for a rep, comes right back, though, and does extremely well on his rep. So I think that's encouraging news. And again, we've talked about Penning and kind of realistic expectations. And look, I still think this is James Hurst's job until it's not. But it is encouraging to see Penning just take from one day where it's kind of like rough, if you will, and then trying to jump to the next day and just actually respond there. And so, look, he's only going to get better here from here on out. And obviously, with the pads being on, that's something that's going to continue to flourish. And, you know, today was pretty chippy as far as practice goes. I mean, there's a lot of extra whistle after the whistle, extracurricular activities. You know, Penning was getting into it with JT Gray and Scott Patchin, and just some of the linebackers, rookies like Nephi Still and Isaiah Pryor. A whole lot of shoving after the whistles, but, you know, no team fights or anything. But, you know, this is a spirited competition. These guys have a lot to prove, and you're going to see a lot more of that come out and come to play. I mean, we've seen teams like the Falcons have a whole meltdown and at their practice and have to shut things down. But, you know, again, Dennis Allen said yesterday that, you know, look, if it becomes a problem, they'll fix it and they'll figure it out. But I guess the first big takeaway, that Penning, I think, looks really good. Second thing I'd say is Michael Thomas. Man, you know, him being at training camp at the start was such a huge thing. And, you know, obviously he's not completely there yet, I would say, just because he hasn't been playing in like team drills when they do 11-on-11 work. That's what we call team drills. And then maybe 7-on-7 is the other thing that you would say. But, man, he's out there, he's working, he's running hard, he's cutting right, he's getting out of his breaks pretty fast. He looks quick. I mean, the guy looks like Michael Thomas. And this is just such a huge reason to be optimistic about his outlook this season. And of course, if you play fantasy football, I know that's going to be a big hot topic as far as where do you take Michael Thomas, but this guy is going to be wide receiver 1 this season. And, you know, look, he's going to have to work on a few things with Jameis Winston, but I think the big takeaway is that Michael Thomas looks like himself. He's going to be a force this season. Now, I'm not telling you he's going to put up 2019 type of production. I believe anything less of maybe 1,000 yards, 80 catch season with about 8 scores sounds a little bit low for Mike. But, you know, look, I think he's chomping at the bit for this opportunity just to come back and show everyone that, hey, don't forget about me. And so couple that with Jarvis Landry, the help that you need, guys like him, Chris Olave, Deonte Harty, who we'll segue into next, who had the play of the day. You know, early on in camp, and I say early on because 6 days, things go pretty fast, but Harty had one of those passes where he wanted to have back. It was a deep bomb. He should have had it, didn't catch it. Alontae Taylor was doing pretty good in coverage there on it as well, but kind of bobbled in and out of his hands. He made up for it today, hitting with Jameis Winston. He was working against Justin Evans. PJ Williams was the other defensive back that was obviously kind of a trailing behind there too, just because Hardy's able to burn him off the line. He knew he was going to be open. Winston was able to find him with ease, and it led to a 50-yard touchdown in team drill. So that's also really good news because, again, you talk about the top 3 guys who's at 4, 5, and 6. Traquan Smith's, again, he's a good blocker. I think he has a role on this team. Marquez Callaway, he has a role on this team as well. But Harty, I think, gives a different element, not only in the kick and return game, but just overall what he brings to the table and what he can do to stretch the field. And it's really going to be hard for these defenses, assuming the health is there, assuming the offensive line's there, and you get the run support. It's going to be hard to match up against these guys. And then, of course, tight end. But, I think that, you can expect some good things from Adam Troutman, who's quietly been probably one of the better standouts of camp. And I can't not bring up Paulson Adebo again. This guy is on fire, right? He had 2 more pass breakups today. He just looks so comfortable out there. He looks like he's the part. And guys, who remember that he was taken in the mid rounds, right? Or this day 2 pick. And so a guy had talent to be potentially a first rounder, but he sat out of football and such. And, look, they got a real gem. And I think it's just a credit to Jeff Ireland too, to the scouting work that this team has done. Just finding somebody like him and taking a chance on him. And last year was kind of crazy. Obviously, I mean, we talked about it before, the scenario the Saints were in, but Adebo's come along very nicely. He looks great. I think he's having the best training camp of any Saints player right now. And some people are having some really good ones, but again, 6 days in, temper the expectations somewhat too. I mean, just because, you can practice well and not show up in game situations. And I don't think this is the case for Adebo, but just to tell you that you can, practice crappy and then turn around and play extremely well in game situations. So it's going to be interesting to see how Dennis Allen kind of evaluates a lot of these things. But, man, it was a good atmosphere. The Saints will be indoors again tomorrow. It's going to be one of those that's just open to the media. And, of course, we'll have all the coverage and breakdown here on Boot Crew Media. As always, tune up to us. Follow all the written work that I do at saints.media, and then check back for tomorrow for Day 7 recap. Again, John Hendricks for Boot Crew Media. Thanks to Royal Honda for producing today's show. Shout out to them. Thank you, guys. Have a good one and be good people.